Welcome to the deep dive. We gather some really incredible sources, research papers, articles, amazing insights, and we basically pull out the best bits, the real gems, just for you.
Yeah, we do the reading so you don't have to, kind of.
Exactly. And today, oh, this is a big one. We're really diving deep into understanding your mind.
Mm.
Our mission here, really, is to explore how your brain works, how your mind operates, even, the spirit side of things, the goal, to help you navigate life better, feel more connected, live a richer life, basically. And it connects to aging well, too, living your best life. It's all about understanding how that inner world, your thoughts and feelings, actually shapes your outer reality.
Totally. So get ready, because I think what we're unpacking today,
Yeah.
it might just give you a completely new way of looking at yourself and maybe the world, too.
It really is a journey into self-discovery. We're focusing on how our internal landscape, our thoughts, emotions, and especially our relationships, how they profoundly shape, well, everything, our physical health, our psychological health.
And the aim is to make it, comprehensive, definitely, but also really approachable, understandable, maybe even entertaining. We want you to really grasp how your mind functions day to day, not just in theory.
Okay, let's kick things off with a story. It's really relatable and sets the scene perfectly. Marian Rojas Estapé, she's a brilliant psychiatrist and author, and her work is kind of the foundation for a lot of this.
Her insights are fantastic.
Yeah. So she tells this great story about her 4 young kids. They are like completely obsessed with football, soccer, for some listeners.
Right. Yeah.
She says after they watch a match on TV, almost like clockwork, every 50 minutes or so, they'd suddenly just dart out into the hallway.
Uh-huh. Doing what?
They were trying to copy the plays, like specific moves, the exact dribbles they'd just seen on screen. They'd be shouting, "Mom, look, I did that move, the one the player did," all excited. Then they'd run back, watch a bit more, dash back out to practice again.
That's brilliant. And, beyond just being cute kid stuff, what Marian saw there and what's so insightful is that it shows something really fundamental about how our brains work.
What's that?
It's this concept of mirror neurons.
Oh, right. I've heard of those.
Yeah, they're these specific brain cells. And the fascinating thing is they fire up not just when we do something ourselves, but also when we watch someone else do the exact same thing.
So it's like our brains are kind of mimicking automatically.
Exactly. It's like we're wired for empathy, for imitation. It's why, you might physically cringe if you see someone fall badly or feel a little phantom pain.
Or why yawns are so contagious.
Precisely. Our brains are designed to resonate with what we see and often replicate it.
Okay, so what does that mean for us? For you, listening right now, just trying to get through the modern world? This is where it gets really interesting, right?
It really does, because think about it. Think about the sheer volume of stuff we're constantly taking in, visually, auditorily, every single day.
Oh, yeah, nonstop.
The endless scrolling on social media, right? All the screens, phones, tablets, laptops, TVs. Then you've got immersive video games, the 24/7 news cycle, which is often pretty dramatic.
It's in a barrage.
It absolutely is. And those mirror neurons, that built-in tendency to replicate what we see and hear, it means all that input is profoundly influencing our subconscious, often in ways we don't even notice.
So it's shaping how we act, how we feel, even our health.
Yes. Our behaviors, definitely. Our physical and psychological health, absolutely. And even subtly, how we interact with people, how we treat others. It's this unseen influence constantly working away beneath our conscious awareness.
Wow. So if you connect that, it feels like there's a big disconnect happening, doesn't it?
That's a critical point. We're living in this world saturated by screens, dominated by them, really.
Right.
And without maybe realizing it, we've sacrificed other crucial connections.
Like what?
Well, connection with nature, for one. That quiet, restorative power. Connection with just quiet contemplation, thinking deeply, even focused reading, like a physical book. It requires a different kind of attention.
Yeah, it does.
But maybe the biggest loss, the most crucial one, is genuine face-to-face connection with other people. In real life. Not through a screen.
Right. Which makes you think, if our brains learn by mirroring, what are we actually mirroring most of the time now? If it's all filtered images and curated online lives.
Exactly. The feedback loop can get distorted, can't it? It's
Right.
a really important question for you to think about.
And this leads to something really fundamental, something our sources just keep hammering home. The most important thing in life, maybe the core human need, is feeling loved.
Yeah.
And being able to love other people.
It's foundational.
But, and this is the crucial bit, Marian and others stress that connection, that love. It has to happen in real life. You can't really get it from a perfectly crafted Instagram feed or a quick like or some digital avatar.
No, it needs presence, vulnerability, actual physical interaction. You can't fake that neurochemistry.
So our deep dive today, it's really about giving you the tools to understand all this, to really get how your brain, your mind, your spirit, how they all work together.
Right, because when you understand it, you gain this incredible advantage. You can stop just sort of coping with modern life and actually start thriving, aging better, living more authentically.
We want to help you understand what's going on inside your own head, why you feel the things you feel, why you react the way you do, and how to navigate it all for a richer, more connected life.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming some agency over your inner world.
Okay, let's jump into part one then, the foundations of well-being. We'll start with self-knowledge and this brilliant term Marian uses, vitamin people.
Ah, yes. Vitamin people. I love this concept.
It's fascinating because it kind of flips the script, doesn't it? We spend so much time talking about toxic people. It's almost become an obsession.
It really has. And Mary noticed that. We were focusing so much energy on identifying and complaining about the toxic ones, and she just very insightfully turned it around. Let's focus on the positive force.
It really shows the power of language, too. The words we use for ourselves and others, they actually shape our reality, don't they?
Absolutely. They shape our perception, even our biology. So instead of constantly labeling people toxic, which, as you said, isn't really her preferred way of putting it, the focus shifts, it becomes about understanding the effect certain people have on us.
Okay, so who are these people? The ones who have a negative effect?
They're the ones who, just by being around them, or sometimes even just by thinking about them, immediately put you into alert mode. That stress response kicks in.
Right, like maybe certain in-laws or an ex-partner.
Could be. Or a demanding boss, a difficult sibling, maybe even a friend who's suddenly gone quiet and that absence makes you feel off. Anyone who triggers that cortisol surge.
And why do they have that effect? Is it always intentional?
Often, no. Not consciously, anyway. It's frequently because those individuals are carrying their own stuff, their own unresolved wounds, their own suffering, their own internal chaos. And they kind of leak it. They inadvertently offload that emotional static onto us.
So we end up feeling almost physically stressed just by being near them.
Yes. Physically intoxicated by cortisol, as Marian puts it, their internal noise becomes your internal noise. It's a real physiological reaction.
Wow. Okay, so this leads to a really crucial point, doesn't it? If we want to be a vitamin person for others, or even just attract them.
You have to start with yourself. It's non-negotiable. You must first be well with yourself.
That sounds simple, but it's probably quite deep.
It is. It's not just some, feel-good saying. It's the absolute foundation for healthy relationships. If you're not well within yourself, you interact from a place of lack of neediness. You can't genuinely give what you don't possess internally.
So what does being well with oneself actually involve? Practically speaking, our sources break it down, right?
They do. Beautifully, actually. And to 4 kind of interconnected pillars. The first one is self-knowledge.
Knowing yourself?
Yeah. Embarking on that journey, and it can be challenging, but also incredibly freeing of identifying your core personality traits. Like really honestly looking at yourself. Are you naturally impatient, super shy, maybe hypersensitive, soaking up everyone's emotions?
Or obsessive, getting stuck in thought loops, a hypochondriac, a perfectionist. Impulsive.
Exactly. Understanding those deep-seated patterns, those tendencies, that's the critical first step. It helps you understand why you react the way you do.
Okay, so identify the traits. Then what?
Then comes self-understanding. Once you see the traits, you start to comprehend how they play out in your life, why that situation makes you anxious or why this person rubs you the wrong way. It's like figuring out the instruction manual for yourself.
And that brings relief, apparently.
Immense relief. It's like, that's why I do that. It lets you step back from just reacting and gain some perspective.
Makes sense. What's the third pillar?
Self-acceptance. And this can be the toughest, but also the most liberating.
Accepting the things you don't like about yourself.
Essentially, yes. Embracing your limitations. Recognizing there are things you just can't change about your past or even some aspects of your personality. Letting go of that constant internal battle against your flaws, your imperfections. Acknowledging mistakes without drowning in self-blame.
So less self-criticism, more self-compassion.
Exactly. It's a profound shift.
And the final one.
Overcoming pain. This is about making a conscious choice, a real decision to heal. To move past old traumas. Those deep-seated hurts that Marian calls insisted within you.
Insisted, like walled off.
Yeah, imagine emotional wounds that have scarred over on the surface, but are still kind of festering underneath, silently influencing your present thoughts, feelings, behaviors. You have to actively decide to address them.
Because if you don't?
They'll keep running the show from behind the scenes. They'll dictate your present, your future, often without you even realizing it. So if you skip these steps, knowing, understanding, accepting yourself, and healing your pain, it's almost impossible to be a genuine vitamin for anyone else. You're operating on empty.
Right. And it's revealing how chronic stress, that constant alert mode we mentioned, the screen overload, the lack of real connection, how it basically brings out the absolute worst version of all those personality traits we just talked about.
It really does. It's like pushing all your vulnerability buttons at once. So the person who's naturally hypersensitive, under chronic stress, they don't just feel things more intensely. They become completely overcome, almost painfully vulnerable.
And the shy person.
They don't just withdraw a bit. They completely block up, can't speak, can't connect, just shut down. The obsessive person gets locked in those ruminating thought loops, endlessly replaying things.
And the perfectionist.
Oh, boy. Yeah, the perfectionist lives in this constant state of vital dissatisfaction. Nothing is ever good enough, ever. It fuels this relentless, exhausting cycle of striving and never quite arriving.
And this mental stress.
Yeah.
It actually shows up physically, too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Somatization.
Yes, absolutely. Somatization is when that internal turmoil, that mental stress, manifests as real, tangible physical symptoms. Your body is literally talking back.
Like what kind of symptoms?
Oh, it can be a huge range. Chronic gut issues, IBS, indigestion, seemingly random numbness or tingling in your hands or feet, those annoying eye twitches that don't stop, blurred vision sometimes, even chronic joint pain that doctors can't find a specific cause for.
So it's not just all in your head.
Not at all. It's your nervous system, especially the vagus nerve connecting your brain and gut, getting stuck in high alert because of the mental stress. Your body is sending clear signals.
Which really leads to a crucial question for everyone listening.
Yeah.
What specifically puts you in that alert mode? Identifying your personal stressors is key.
Absolutely key. You need to know your triggers. Is it specific people, certain memories, particular situations like, I don't know, public speaking or financial worries, maybe just being stuck in traffic or checking your bank balance.
Could even be an old wound you haven't dealt with.
Definitely. Something from the past, keeping your whole system on edge even if you're not consciously thinking about it. Which brings us naturally to the role of fear.
Ah, fear. The big one.
Yeah, and it's important to say fear isn't inherently bad. It's real, it's physiological, wired into our amygdala deep in the brain, and we need it for survival, for prudence. It stops us doing stupidly dangerous things.
Right. Don't want to eliminate it completely.
No, but the big problem Marian points out is when fear stages a coup in your mind. When it takes over, influencing all your decisions, paralyzing you, it shifts from being a helpful advisor to a dictator.
Yeah. And some fears are obvious, like fear of it getting sick or fear of death.
Yeah.
But a lot are more subtle, aren't they?
Oh, hugely. Operating just below the surface. Like the fear of disappointing people, the fear of not being perfect, of failing, the deep fear of not being loved or accepted for who you really are, fear of losing control, fear of suffering, of pain itself.
Some of those, in small doses, might even be healthy, like a little fear of disappointing someone might make you more considerate.
Exactly. Small doses can be necessary drivers. But when they become the overwhelming lens through which you see everything, that's when they become really detrimental to your well-being.
Okay, and then there's this other concept, emotional foundations, cimientos emocionales. What's that about?
Ah, this is so powerful and often unconscious. These are the patterns, the ways of relating, the whole emotional atmosphere we absorbed in our childhood home, from our parents, grandparents, whoever raised us. We internalize it all as normal.
So it's like the blueprint for our emotional life.
Precisely. It shapes everything, how you learn to show affection or not show it, how conflict is handled, what a normal power dynamic looks like, even things like how you eat or talk about feelings. It all comes from that early blueprint.
And the key is to actually look at that blueprint to figure out if it's healthy.
Yes. That's the crucial, liberating step. Identify those patterns within yourself. Are they serving you now? Or are they toxic? Are they unconsciously leading you to repeat unhealthy cycles in your own relationships, maybe choosing partners who mirror those old dynamics?
You mentioned an example from Marian's work, the patient with the alcoholic father.
Yes, such a poignant example. Grew up seeing all the dysfunction, the suffering. Yet, as an adult, she unconsciously kept choosing partners who were also alcoholics. Because on some deep unconscious level, that pattern felt normal,
Yeah,
familiar.
well, so we can end up choosing from that place of old wounds or lack rather than what's actually good for us now,
Exactly. Choosing from familiarity, even if it's damaging familiarity, instead of from conscious, healthy desire, it's a powerful unconscious pull.
which really brings us to the antidote, doesn't it? Meaningful relationships and oxytocin.
The great antidote, and the science backs this up so strongly, those famous, long-running Harvard studies on human flourishing, decades of research.
What did they find? What's the most important thing for aging well, for being happy and healthy long term?
It wasn't money. It wasn't career success, not primarily. It wasn't even just physical fitness. The single most important factor, the quality of your close relationships, connection.
That is monumental, isn't it?
It really is, because the flip side is just as powerful. Loneliness is profoundly toxic. Feeling truly alone, chronically isolated. It literally makes you sick.
Feeling unloved, rejected.
Makes you sick, feeling humiliated, shamed, makes you sick. It's not just feeling bad emotionally. It directly impacts your physical health, your immune system, your stress levels. Loneliness is like a slow poison.
Which is why oxytocin is so important. You called it the great vaccine for the coming years.
I truly believe it is. It's that bonding hormone, right, released right from birth during childbirth, lactation, crucial for that first mother-child bond. But it keeps working throughout our lives.
Yeah.
When we're genuinely present with our vitamin people, the ones who lift us up, make us feel seen, loved, safe, our brains release oxytocin. And biochemically, what does it do? It directly lowers cortisol levels, calms that stress response right down.
Wow.
It strengthens the immune system. It actually improves how we see ourselves. Our self-perception becomes more positive. And here's the beautiful part. It empowers us to be vitamin people for others. It's this amazing positive feedback loop that literally changes our body chemistry for the better.
Okay, that's a perfect transition to part 2. Shaping your reality. We need to talk about optimism and maybe even more importantly, our inner dialogue.
Yes. This is such a core idea from Marian's work. Happiness isn't really about what happens to us. It's about how we interpret what happens to us.
The lens we use to see things.
Exactly. It's entirely subjective.
Yeah.
And you see this play out all the time, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Like, have a terrible day at work, boss is mad, project fails, spill coffee everywhere.
Yeah, the worst.
You go home, and even if something genuinely good happens, a partner makes your favorite dinner, kid gives you a hug, it's almost impossible to really feel it, to enjoy it. You're stuck in that negative funk from work.
But flip it around. Have a great day at work, get praise, solve a problem, feel accomplished. Then you get home, and maybe something minor goes wrong, a forgotten chore, a little disagreement. It just doesn't seem like such a big deal.
Right. Your interpretation completely changes the emotional impact, the reality of the moment.
It really does. And where does this tendency towards optimism or pessimism come from? Is it genetic, learned? It's complex, likely a mix. But what's certain is we all have that negative inner voice to some degree.
And historically, that wasn't always a bad thing. A bit of pessimism kept us safe.
For sure, in a hostile environment, being constantly vigilant, expecting the worst, that was actually adaptive. It helped our ancestors survive.
But we're not living in that kind of environment anymore, mostly.
Exactly, and that's the crucial point. We are not biologically designed to live in a state of constant, sustained alert mode in our relatively safe modern world. Chronic pessimism, perpetual worry, it takes a massive toll, physically and mentally. It leads to burnout, illness, exhaustion.
So we need to learn how to switch off that alert mode, engage the relaxation response.
We absolutely do. We need to consciously disconnect, downshift, engage the parasympathetic nervous system through rest, meditation, contemplation, just being present. It's a skill we have to cultivate.
And here's a really mind-bending point Marian makes. Our brain doesn't know the difference between a real threat out there and one we just imagine.
This is so key. Your body reacts the same way. So chronic pessimism is often fueled by our own imagination running wild, dwelling on negative what-ifs that statistically, Marian says 90% of the time never even happen.
But the stress response is real anyway.
Totally real. Your blood pressure goes up, cortisol floods your system, all because of a thought, an imagined scenario. Your brain believes the story you tell it, and your body follows suit.
So optimism, or just a generally positive attitude,
Mm-hmm.
it really comes down to how you talk to yourself. That inner chatter.
Profoundly so. That constant inner hum, often subconscious. And it's not just, positive thinking, woo-woo.
Yeah.
It's scientifically shown that this internal narrative, powerfully influences how things turn out for you, your resilience, how you handle challenges.
And neurologically, what does negative self-talk actually do to the brain?
It directly impacts the prefrontal cortex, the smart, rational, problem-solving part of your brain. Negative self-talk, things like, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'll definitely mess this up. It actually makes your prefrontal cortex less effective, less lucid, less brilliant.
Seriously?
Yes. Think about walking into a job interview thinking, they'll never hire me. Your brain literally has less access to its resources, your knowledge, your creativity, your ability to articulate clearly, because so much energy is being diverted to managing the anxiety caused by that negative thought.
Like a cognitive drain. Same for exams.
Exactly the same. If you're full of self-doubt, your brain struggles to retrieve the information you studied, even if it's in there. The anxiety creates a bottleneck.
Interesting. Marian also mentions a difference between men and women here with the inner voice.
Yeah, it's an observation from her clinical practice. She notes that women often seem to have a more intense, more pervasive inner voice, possibly because it's so strongly linked to emotion. Everything tends to connect back to a feeling, creating this constant, interwoven internal commentary.
Whereas
Men, generally speaking, tend to compartmentalize more effectively. They might experience periods of actual quiet from the inner voice, focusing on one thing without that constant emotional cross-referencing. Again, it's not a judgment, just a commonly observed difference.
But for everyone, that inner voice has huge effects, right? Beyond just thinking clearly.
Oh, absolutely. It influences your immune system, strengthening it or weakening it. It shapes how you face illness, how you recover, and it really reframes happiness, too. Happiness isn't about being constantly happy-go-lucky. It's about genuinely savoring the good times when they happen, and crucially, managing the bad when it inevitably arrives. Because everyone faces battles, everyone has struggles. The key difference is the self-talk, how you interpret and navigate those tough times.
And the really hopeful part is, we can change that self-talk. We can actually learn to be more optimistic.
Yes, that's the power of neuroplasticity. Our brain's amazing ability to change, to reorganize itself, to form new connections based on our experiences and intentions. We can literally reshape our brains.
But Monica Hall said,
yeah,
we can be the sculptors of our own brain.
Exactly. But remember his crucial qualifier. If they propose it, it takes conscious effort, attitude, willpower. It's not passive. It's an active process of sculpting.
Okay, so how do we do it? How do we practically sculpt for optimism?
First step, identify your discourse. Pay close attention to how you talk, internally and externally. Is it mostly negative, neutral, positive? How do you talk about others, your past decisions, your future? Just becoming aware of that inner hum is huge, making the unconscious conscious.
Right. Shine a light on it.
Then, second step, intentionally visualize good things. Don't be afraid to dream big, to build those castles in the air. But, and this is vital, you have to build foundations underneath them.
Dream big, act small.
Precisely Marian's advice. Want to be a doctor? Act small. Study today. Want better health? Act small. Exercise for 15 minutes. Eat one healthy meal. Want a partner or a job? Act small. Update your profile. Send an application. Optimism fuels the vision. Small actions build the reality.
But what about when things are genuinely terrible? When optimism just feels impossible, like during deep grief or severe illness or depression?
That's a crucial point, and it needs deep empathy. There are absolutely times when trying to force optimism is not only impossible, but feels invalidating.
So what then?
Then, Marian is very clear. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Seriously. Seeking support from a therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist, it's not weakness. It's profound strength. It's self-compassion in action.
They can help you find a new perspective.
They can give you tools, support, and help you regain a more adaptive way of looking at reality, which in turn improves your physical and psychological health. It's about recognizing when you need help to recalibrate that internal compass.
Okay, let's shift gears to part 3. Navigating the demands of life. This idea of conciliation and the mental battery. This feels like the modern struggle, doesn't it? Trying to balance everything.
Oh, completely balancing parenting, career growth, self-care. It's relentless. And we're bombarded with messages, especially on social media, showing these perfect, curated lives where people seem to have it all.
Yeah, which creates impossible expectations.
Totally. And the reality is, almost everyone feels like they're falling short somewhere, that feeling of not reaching everything. Marian's personal story about the pandemic really hits home here.
Remind us.
She was pregnant with her 4th child. Her oldest was only 5, the other's 3 and 1. And she just collapsed. Physically and emotionally.
Trying to do everything. Patient care, public information, new baby, toddlers.
Everything. And she realized it was literally impossible. And from that breaking point came this incredibly liberating insight. The key to life isn't doing everything. It's learning to renounce without guilt. Learning to choose what's most important in this moment, this season of life.
Renounce without guilt. That's powerful because
Yeah.
the guilt is huge, right?
Immense. So it means recognizing life has seasons. Some weeks, months, years you have to prioritize work or family or health. You can't ace everything all at once. And crucially, it means learning to say no.
Saying no without feeling like you're letting someone down.
Exactly. Breaking free from that ingrained belief that you must always help, always say yes, always be perfect. It's hard, but vital for survival, really.
And this applies to parenting too.
Directly. The core principle holds. To be well with your kids, you first have to be well with yourself. And your role changes as they grow. What a baby needs is different from what a teenager needs. You adapt, shifting from constant care to more guidance, shared experiences, meaningful talks.
Okay, tell us about this mental battery concept. It sounds really useful.
It's a brilliant analogy Marian uses for the prefrontal cortex, PFC, that front part of your brain behind your forehead.
The brain CEO.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It handles all the complex stuff. Connecting with others, solving problems, paying attention, managing impulses, controlling impatience, irritability. It keeps the emotional system in check.
But we think it can just run forever.
That's the myth. We treat it like an eternal battery that should work 24/7, but it's not. It drains throughout the day.
Drained by what?
Everyday stuff. Frustrating commutes, work stress, arguments, even just eating poorly and having your blood sugar spike and crash. All these things deplete that precious mental energy.
And when the battery gets low, say below 20%,
That's when your worst version shows up. Suddenly you're craving junk food for a quick energy hit. You get super irritable, snappy, impatient. Everything feels overwhelming. Your ability to connect, empathize, problem solve, it just plummets.
and our kids or partners often get that version at the end of the day.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
They get the depleted you. Marian's story about storytelling is perfect here.
Right, the three little pigs.
Yeah. She loves telling elaborate stories, has a great imagination, but one night, battery at 0.5%, totally drained, the only story her brain could access was the three little pigs. No capacity left for creativity or complex thought. Just gone.
It's such a clear picture of mental exhaustion. So the takeaway for conciliation is prioritize recharging that battery.
Absolutely. You need to arrive home not so faint, as she says, and understand that different kids need connection in different ways, like her son, who only opened up late at night, quietly in his room. You have to find their channel.
So find those moments, shared activities, walks, just being present, and deal with the guilt, especially for moms.
Yes, acknowledge the guilt, the societal pressure that says you should do more, even when you're running on empty. And embrace realistic expectations. You cannot be a 10-10 in everything all the time. Parent, partner, professional, self-care, sleeper. It's impossible.
So the advice is to stop, reflect.
Yes. Pause regularly. Analyze. Where am I putting my energy? Am I being consumed? Am I losing connection with the important people? The challenge and the freedom is choosing without guilt, renouncing without guilt, focusing on what matters most now, even if other things slide temporarily. That conscious choice is like a vaccine for your family's well-being.
Moving to part 4, reconnecting with the present, slowing down. This is huge. We're always told live in the present, but our minds are constantly elsewhere, right? Past regrets, future worries.
It's the universal struggle, and it's no wonder anxiety and depression are called the illnesses of the 21st century. They're so often tied to that mental time travel dwelling on the past or catastrophizing about the future. We're anywhere but here.
And neuroscientifically, we can't always control where our mind goes.
Not entirely. Our unconscious mind is processing things incredibly fast, often below our awareness. A simple smell, like Marian's patient smelling a perfume.
And instantly remembering her grandmother.
Exactly. Powerful unconscious memories triggered in an instant, pulling you out of the present.
And this all feeds into what the sources call our fast life culture.
Speeding up podcasts, wanting instant everything, constant acceleration, fueled by FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Which drives this need to be constantly connected, stimulated.
It becomes like an emotional drug dependency, this constant need to feel something, know something, do something. And the huge problem is we're consuming information at warp speed without reflecting on any of it.
Just input, input, input.
Right, like eating a gourmet meal in 3 minutes. You know you ate it, but did you savor it? Did you enjoy the nuances? An accelerated life can't be savored. And happiness, Marian suggests, is often found in those small, savored moments.
So how do we slow down? How do we actually connect with the present?
First step, Marian insists, is a conscious decision. You have to want to connect. It's intentional.
Okay.
Then identify your accelerators. Where do you feel most rushed? Work, home life. Pinpoint the pressure points.
And also identify our escape routes, the things we do to avoid the present.
Yes, your automatic dopamine dispensers. What do you reach for when you're stressed, bored, uncomfortable? Scrolling social media, online shopping, binge watching? Recognize your brain's go-to avoidance tactics.
And instead of escaping, embrace contemplation.
Yes, not just zoning out, but actively looking at reality with new eyes, with interest. This actually strengthens your prefrontal cortex. And try that Dutch concept, Nixon.
Not doing anything without guilt, just sitting, observing, breathing for 10 minutes.
Exactly. Marian tried it at a bus stop and got ambushed by a patient. It shows how alien it feels in our culture. We literally have to force ourselves to slow down sometimes. It's a deliberate act.
Because it is enough to look at something with interest for it to become interesting.
Precisely. Shift your focus. And crucially, embrace boredom and discomfort.
Don't run away from it.
Right. Sit with it instead of grabbing for that dopamine hit. Because boredom allows the default mode network in your brain to activate. That doing nothing state is vital for organizing thoughts, consolidating memories, forming identity, connecting past and future.
We think we're being productive on our phones, but we're blocking that essential internal processing.
Exactly. We lose hours mistaking scrolling for productivity.
What else helps with presence?
Sensory connection, really engage your senses, nature, music, using your hands, touch, hugs. Pets are great too. Dogs generate oxytocin.
And when thoughts of past or future intrude,
Acknowledge them, don't fight them, just notice them, let them pass, and gently bring your focus back to now. If they're important, they'll come back later.
Okay, part 5, the science of connection. Choosing and nurturing relationships, especially partners. This is huge.
One of the biggest life decisions, right? Driven by that fundamental need for love, for lasting commitment. But yeah, sometimes we choose poorly.
And those emotional foundations, the childhood blueprints, play a big role here too.
Huge. They shape who we're drawn to. Marian's patient, whose mother had multiple partners. She lacked a healthy reference point. So she chose partners to fill that void, that longing for stable attachment, rather than from a place of conscious, healthy need.
Or the person whose parents were alcoholics, unconsciously repeating the pattern.
Yes, seeing unhealthy dynamics as normal because it's familiar, the goal is to excavate those foundations. Are they solid and healthy, or are they undermining your choices?
And it's not just childhood. Past adult relationships also have a massive impact.
Definitely. That common pattern. Having a bad relationship, then choosing the complete opposite next time without really figuring out what healthy actually looks like for you. It's reactive, not conscious.
So let's talk about the biochemistry. Love is blind initially.
As Marian's father said, love, when it arrives, can be very blind, but when it leaves, it is very lucid. The emotional limbic system basically hijacks the rational prefrontal cortex at first.
For how long?
Helen Fisher's research suggests that intense blind romantic phase lasts on average about 17 months. Then the initial hormonal rush, dopamine, norepinephrine, starts to calm down. The foam subsides, as Marian says.
And that's when you start seeing the flaws. I didn't see that before.
Exactly. Reality sets in. Fisher talks about 3 phases: sexual desire, then romantic love, that obsessive focus, then attachment, the calmer bonding phase with oxytocin.
But Marian adds more layers, right? Based on conscious choice.
Yes. First, the spark, that initial attraction. But then, and this is the crucial step, often missed a bit of head, engaging the prefrontal cortex.
Asking the tough questions before diving in deep.
Precisely. Does this person really suit me, make me better, align with my values, my long-term goals? This needs self-knowledge, knowing your foundations, thinking beyond the initial chemistry. Marian admits it took her 2 years of conscious thought to choose her husband.
Wow, okay. Spark, then head.
Willpower. The active, ongoing decision to work on the relationship. Because feelings fluctuate for everyone, even your closest family. But reason and commitment, that willpower, keeps you investing, nurturing the bond, overcoming challenges. It's not passive, it's active.
So how do we nurture that equilibrium long term? Keep it healthy.
First, accept that ups and downs are normal. Tension, friction. It happens in all living relationships. Years bring complexities, memories, family issues, money. old wounds resurfacing. Expecting constant harmony is unrealistic.
And forgiveness is key.
Absolutely vital, defined as going to the past and returning safe and sound, not dragging old hurts into the present. It's an act of love, for them and for you. It requires managing your internal story about what happened.
Communication skills too, obviously.
Crucial, being able to express your feelings, sadness, fatigue, feeling unloved, and the other person being able to receive it, which links to alexithymia.
Difficulty expressing emotions verbally.
Yeah, like Marian's patient who said, "I told you I loved you on our wedding day, my opinion hasn't changed." They had to negotiate a compromise, one heart emoji a day. Sometimes you need practical bridges.
Understanding love languages, avoiding destructive patterns like shouting or silence.
Yes, and understanding different sensitivities. Some people pick up nuances, others don't. Patience is needed. And the power of small details.
Remembering birthdays, work stuff.
Yeah.
Knowing what makes them happy.
Exactly. Like Marian watching sci-fi she dislikes because her husband loves it. Those small acts build connection.
And making time for the couple. Escapades.
Essential. 2 hours at a bar, a night away, whatever it takes to step off the daily treadmill, reconnect, rekindle intimacy, touch.
Intimacy and humor seem important too.
Hugely. Open talk about sex life. Fluctuations are normal. And laughter. De-dramatizing difficulties is vital for long-term resilience.
So the core pillars are care, generosity, respect, and continuous effort.
Yes. Relationships change. People mature. You have to keep adapting, keep working at it with willpower. That saying, he who is right in marrying has nothing left to do. Marian says no, it means you have everything to do to keep it right.
Okay, final section, part 6. Diagnosing society's mind. Cortisol, attention, dopamine. This feels like a big picture view.
It is, and there's been a shift, right? We used to only talk about severe mental illness, but now we discuss trauma, everyday struggles, burnout.
Which is good, but maybe sometimes we over-pathologize normal difficulties.
That's the caution. It's great we're talking, but not every sad feeling is clinical depression. Still, the mind-body connection is undeniable. Harvard's saying 80% of primary care visits are emotion-related.
And the inflammation link. Body inflammation leading to brain inflammation, maybe even depression.
Exactly. We have to see the organism holistically from neuron to emotion. The body is listening. Those physical symptoms, gut issues, numbness, eye tics, pain are signals.
So Marian's 3 diagnoses of modern society.
Yeah.
First, cortisol intoxication, chronic stress.
Yeah, not just lion in the jungle stress, but threats to our modern survival, economic, professional, social, affective.
Partner leaving, job insecurity, financial crisis, social exclusion.
All trigger cortisol. And seeing loved ones suffer triggers it in us too, through empathy. And remember, the mind doesn't distinguish between a real threat and an imagined one.
So is society constantly stressed?
Leads to a blocked prefrontal cortex. We become more selfish, less attentive, stuck in survival mode. Like that traumatized child unable to focus in school, brains too busy scanning for threats.
Second diagnosis, attention crisis, prefrontal cortex impairment.
A global struggle to think deeply, reason, concentrate, like we're choosing to stay asleep in a matrix-like world of distractions.
Caused by fear, uncertainty, but also hyperstimulation.
Yes, leading to an addiction to the irrelevant, constantly seeking superficial news, trends, losing focus on what matters. Why? Because it gives a quick dopamine hit.
Which brings us to the third diagnosis, dopamine intoxication. Our reward system is out of whack.
Dopamine's vital for survival, pleasure, habits, but modern life has hacked it.
Drugs being the extreme example, creating tolerance.
Yes, needing more for the same effect, because the body seeks balance, homeostasis. Too much dopamine. Brain reduces receptors and generates pain signals to compensate.
The pleasure-pain seesaw.
Exactly. Intense pleasure leads to a balancing pain response. Eventually, people aren't seeking pleasure, but avoiding the pain of not having the stimulation.
Leading to intolerance of frustration, pain, boredom.
We can't handle discomfort. Everything becomes boring. And avoiding boredom blocks that crucial default mode network, the brain's background processing for identity, memory, planning. We lose hours on phones thinking we're busy, but we're preventing deep thought.
So how do we fight back? Reclaim our minds.
Become the sculptor of your brain. Strengthen the PFC, rebalance dopamine, learn to tolerate discomfort.
Tolerate discomfort, like microdoses of accepted pain.
Yeah. Delaying gratification slightly for a drink, phone check, food, even a painkiller. It builds resilience. Think of the Camino de Santiago pilgrimage. Accepting the physical hardship leads to profound well-being, endogenous dopamine.
Or dopamine fasting. Temporarily cutting out high dopamine activities.
Exactly. Avoiding the excessive stuff, junk food, endless scrolling, certain games to let your system reset, not total abstinence, but strategic reduction to reconquer your life.
And achieving flow state.
Yes, Csikszentmihalyi's concept. Getting lost in an activity, painting, gardening, writing, cooking. Your sense of time disappears. You're fully absorbed in the process, not just the outcome. It requires challenge, creativity, usually no screen. It's incredibly restorative.
This all ties back to purpose, doesn't it?
Fundamentally, happiness is linked to the meaning you give your life, having a sense of purpose for yourself and for others.
Because without purpose,
the mind fills the vacuum with easy dopamine hits. Food, sex, shopping, drugs, endless scrolling. They provide sensation, but not meaning, leaving you empty. True purpose requires the PFC, stopping, reflecting, asking deep questions. Like Einstein said, never stop asking questions.
So final practical tips.
Turn off phone alerts. Feel the withdrawal, then the freedom. Have airplane mode moments to face yourself without escape routes. Seek truth. Talk about this stuff, especially with teens. Maintain positive routines that build healthy rewards.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into understanding your mind. We've covered so much: the mind-body link, cortisol, dopamine, relationships, self-knowledge, being present.
It's all interconnected, and the amazing thing is we can reconnect with real life. B vitamin people, release oxytocin through real touch, hugs, presence. It's the best tool we have for our physical and mental health.
So a final thought for you to take away. Maybe true happiness isn't about chasing constant highs or escaping all discomfort. Maybe it's about embracing the whole spectrum, the difficulties included, and actively building a life of meaning and purpose. Your body, as Marian says, will be very grateful.
And one last crucial point. If you're really struggling, uncontrollable sadness, thoughts of self-harm, serious relationship issues, anxiety attacks, phobias, intrusive thoughts, insomnia, if your escape routes feel destructive, please don't be afraid to ask for professional help. Healing takes time. It can be hard, but it's profoundly rewarding. It's about finding your wounds, recomposing yourself, and becoming the best version of you so you can be happy and help others be happy too.